You already know the story. Disney World is more crowded than ever, more expensive than ever, packed shoulder to shoulder. However, only half of that is true. The crowded half? The data says it's wrong. In 2024, Walt Disney World drew millions fewer guests than it did before the pandemic. And one of its four parks has lost more than a third of its crowd, and it still hasn't gotten them back. No vibes today, just the numbers. First, the obvious question. How do we even know how many people visit Disney World? Because Disney doesn't tell us. They have never published official attendance figures for any park, ever. So the entire industry relies on one source, the annual TEA attendance report. Estimates built by a team of analysts from financial filings, park hours, and modeling. It's the gold standard. It's what every news outlet quotes, and it goes back to 2006. Two things you need to know, because we're going to be honest about our data. One, these are estimates, not turnstile counts. Good ones, but estimates. Two, starting with the 2024 numbers, the report changed hands and changed names. It used to be the TEA/AECOM Theme Index. It's now the TEA Global Experience Index, produced by different analysts. We'll flag that seam when it matters, because a methodology change is exactly the kind of thing a careful person watches for. With that on the table, let's look. Here's estimated attendance at all four Walt Disney World parks from 2013 to 2024. Through the 2010s, it's a steady climb. Magic Kingdom pushes past 20 million people a year. By 2019, all four parks together pull in about 58.7 million guests. That's the peak. Remember that number. Then, 2020. COVID. The parks close in March. They don't reopen until July, and when they do, it's with reservations, distancing, and a fraction of capacity. Attendance falls off a cliff. But everybody knows about 2020. That's not the story. The story is what happens next. 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. The lines climb back up. And the headlines say Disney is fully recovered, busier than ever, record-breaking. So let's check. In 2024, those same four parks, 49.1 million guests. That's not a record. That's down 16% from 2019. 5 years later, Walt Disney World is drawing roughly 9.5 million fewer people a year than it did before COVID. The crowds, in aggregate, simply have not come back. But the average hides the real story, because the four parks did not recover equally. Watch. This is each park's 2024 attendance as a share of its own 2019 peak. 100% would mean fully recovered. Epcot, basically back, 98%. If you only went to Epcot, you'd believe the fully recovered headline. Hollywood Studios, 90%. Magic Kingdom, the most visited theme park on the planet, 85%. Still missing about 1 in 7 of its pre-pandemic guests. And then there's Animal Kingdom, 63%. Animal Kingdom has lost more than a third of its attendance versus 2019, over 5 million people a year, and it is not climbing back. 2022, 2023, 2024, basically flat, stuck under 9 million. Now, when a number is that dramatic, my instinct isn't to thumbnail it, it's to check it. So I traced it back to the primary TEA reports and cross-checked the figure against every major outlet that publishes them. Same number everywhere. And I'll be precise, because precision is the whole point here. These all trace back to the same TEA estimate. So it isn't 4 independent counts. It's one figure the industry doesn't dispute. The argument isn't whether Animal Kingdom fell, it's why. So why Animal Kingdom? 2 reasons: the crowds and the clock. The crowds first. Pandora, the Avatar land, opened in 2017, and Animal Kingdom's attendance climbed with it, peaking in 2019. Then COVID. And after 2020, it never recovers. By 2024, Animal Kingdom is drawing fewer people than it did in 2016, the year before Pandora opened. Then the clock. The recurring criticism of this park is that Disney cut its hours after COVID and never restored them. The half-day park. Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios are all back to their 2019 operating hours. Animal Kingdom is the only one that isn't, and its hours have fallen every year since. About 12 hours a day in 2019, barely 10 by 2024. 2 fewer hours a day than the other 3 parks. A shorter day is a smaller park. However, a change is coming. Disney is replacing Dinoland with a new land, Tropical Americas, the same move that worked in 2017, when a new land added roughly 3 million guests in 2 years. Whether it works again is an open question. So here's what makes this genuinely interesting. If attendance is down 16%, how is Disney reporting record revenue from its parks? Because both can be true at once. Fewer guests, but more revenue. Now, I am not going to show you a 40-year spending per guest chart, because that clean number doesn't exist. Disney has reshuffled how it reports parks revenue too many times to compare it honestly across decades. Anyone who shows you that chart is guessing. What I can tell you, straight from Disney's own recent earnings, attendance dipped slightly while per guest spending rose. That's a current pattern, honestly labeled, not a trend I'll pretend is 40 years old. And the more expensive half of this story, it gets its own episode, with hard numbers, next time. Before the takeaway, the fine print, out loud. These attendance figures are estimates, not official counts. The 2023 to 2024 comparison crosses a change in who produces the report, so treat that one seam with a little caution. And 2025's numbers aren't out yet. That report doesn't drop until late this year. When it does, we'll update you. So what does the data actually say? The popular story, Disney World is more packed than ever, is, by the attendance numbers, not true. In 2024, the 4 parks together drew about 16% fewer guests than in 2019, and not one had fully recovered. That's the claim I'll stand behind, because it's the one that's on the chart. Why it still feels crowded, fewer rides open, shorter hours, thinner staffing, and why it costs more, those are real questions. But I'm not going to hand you answers I haven't measured. They're exactly what this channel exists to dig into, one data set at a time. Numbers first. I'm going to keep pulling these numbers apart. Wait times, prices, the works. If you want the data instead of the vibes, subscribe. Because here's the thing that should bother you. If fewer people are coming, why does it cost more than ever? Next time, we put 50 years of Disney ticket prices up against inflation, 1971 to today. And the gap is wider than Disney would ever admit. Sources are all in the description. Thanks for watching Standby.